You know, when you have that wide a range over the teams, 14U, 16U, 18U, what is the biggest difference in your mind in the way that you have to coach players on each of those teams?
That's kind of funny. That's a good question, but I know I kind of coach every team really the same way. I almost use it as like a minor league system. We do things very, very much the same way as far as double cuts. We just try to teach guys the right way to play from day one, whether it be 10U all the way up to 18U. So there's only one way to play this game, in my personal opinion, and that's the right way. So that's kind of what our motto is on TREX, and that's kind of what we're trying to pass on to the young kids and all the way up to the 18U group.
Is there camaraderie that goes along? Because the good clubs that we've talked to, whether it be clubs in Florida or in the Northeast, up in New Jersey or in Texas, is it that same type thing where your youngers are watching their olders? They're watching Mitchell Allen, who may be going to San Diego State as he is the commit, or Boyd Vanderkoy, who is heading into his junior year after this summer, who's a commit to Oregon. Is there kind of a community communication where you all pull for one another?
Absolutely. And, we're just one big happy family, so to speak. We have our young kids, even our 14U youngsters, after the game today, they stuck around to watch the 16s play. Obviously, they're playing up into the 18U tournament, but that's kind of what we want to do. We try to build our youth all the way up, it's like a foundation. We just want the kids to see the older kids playing and kind of almost mimic them, be the next Vanderkoy, the next Gonzalez, the next Ghaffari, the next, the list goes on, Mitch Allen and, Scotty Meehan. And we have a lot of exciting young players out there, but, they're the next guy in line. So it's almost like that old saying, the next man up.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. We're talking to Rex Gonzalez, the coach of the Arizona T-Rex. You have a ton of guys that are already kind of Division I commits and that. So do they kind of provide leadership to some degree for those young players that are coming into the organization? And how do you kind of use them to help? Because a lot of times, peer-based messages resonate more than coach-based messages.
Oh, absolutely. It's funny you should say such a thing, but I'll tell you what, our older guys, our 16Us, if you saw them walking down the street, if they saw like our 11Us, they come up and high five all these kids, and they really wrap their arms around them and embrace them. And it's just like I said, it's one big happy family. We're all one big family. Basically, it doesn't matter whether or not you're 12, 13, 14, 16 or 18. That's what it's all about. It's helping each other out and making one another better.
Rex Gonzalez is joining us, the founder of TREX Baseball, one of the fine clubs out west, and probably the best in the state of Arizona, no doubt about it, taking part in this weekend's WWBA on the west side of Phoenix. For you, playing very successfully, playing collegiately, playing professionally, coaching professionally as well, at what point in your life did you decide that the young, the amateur, the club baseball was where you wanted to devote your passion?
It's kind of funny. After I was done managing professionally and I came back from California back home to Florida, my little nephew, Jacob, at the time I say little because now he's 6'3", 190, probably bigger than myself, and, of course, my brother, Luis Gonzalez. Actually, my brother and his wife, Christine, gave me an opportunity to move out to Arizona and thought it would be a good idea for me to coach my nephew, and that's kind of how it all started out. I just moved out here and we started out with 12 kids, and now we're up to over 100, so it's just started out as a little thing and it's developed into something bigger and bigger, and it's just a way of life now. I truly enjoy it. I always say it's like I'm digging ditches every day. I really enjoy getting up in the morning and going to work.
With that difference between coaching professionally and coaching the kids, what do you like better about working with the young guys?
Between professionally and the youth?
Yeah.
Well, it's just really it's almost a different animal. Professionally, it's more business oriented, and it is a job, even though it's a kid's game. On the youth end, it's just very rewarding to see a kid that can barely catch a baseball, and 4 years later he's turning double plays. It's just very rewarding to me, and it's like I always say, it's like seeing these kids just grow right basically in front of your eyes.
Tell us about Jacob. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about Jacob. Obviously, he is on Perfect Game's website. He's at Chaparral High School. I know it very well. He's heading into, after this summer, his senior year. We know about Daddy's career. Tell us about Jacob.
Actually, it's his junior year. He's still got another year after this one. Jacob's kind of obviously I'm a little biased because he's my nephew, but the thing about Jacob that I really can truly admire about him is his work ethic. What he does off the field is just extraordinary. I mean, the guy gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning sometimes before his high school game and goes in his backyard and hits in his batting cage. And, he's not trying to sit on his dad's laurels or anything. He's trying to earn it for himself. And that's kind of what's kind of special about it. Even when he first started with us, he probably wasn't the best player on our team at 12, but the thing I can always tell you about him is he's going to be one of the hardest workers, and his leadership skills are far, just extraordinary. And now, to be quite honest with you, he is one of the best players. So, instead of saying, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. And the player he was at 12 is definitely not the player he is right now at 16. He's really starting to really come into his own and excel. Like I said, his work ethic is very good. Works with his weight and hitting in the cage. I couldn't even tell you how many balls the kid hits, but that's just a tribute to him and him working hard and wanting to be like his dad, so to speak.
Yeah, and another one with Rex Gonzalez. You mentioned the leadership aspect of it, and I'm kind of curious with when you have a kid like Jacob, is it more the lead by example, or is it vocal leadership, or is it a combination of both that you're able to get from those players who are like that at that age?
Well, in baseball, there's always two types of players. There's, obviously I don't know Goldschmidt that well being out here in Arizona, but I would say he's a lead by example guy because he doesn't look very boisterous. But Jacob's a little bit of both. He's like a quarterback, whether he's playing second, short, or third, or if he's behind the plate, he's a quarterback all the time. And it's always good to have a guy that's boisterous, but it's even better when you do it between the white lines and you can actually put up the numbers and produce as well.
If I'm allowed to ask one more, Mike Farron, I have to ask my most famous question to any baseball player or to any travel ball coach. What is your advice to baseball and sports parents? You deal with them. I'm sure you deal with the majority of them. If you set the rules up early, they play by the rules, but it's one of the great challenges in amateur sports. It's parents. What advice do you have for baseball parents?
If I had to say one advice I have personally, I think loyalty goes a long way. And I try to give it back to my parents, and I've been very fortunate with my parents. They give it right back to me. And, our parents are outstanding. I think sometimes kids just want to team hop too much. They want to go from team to team and play on 10 different teams instead of being loyal to one coach and or an organization and doing the right thing. I think when you do that, unfortunately, that's when injuries happen to kids' arms and they just overplay the game. There's plenty of opportunities to be noticed with great tournaments like Perfect Game. Perfect Game is a great example of putting the kids in the perfect position to be successful. And there's no need to play 200 tournaments a year when you just need to play the right tournaments. I think some of these parents sometimes just want their kids to play every weekend instead of just practice is equally important as always playing in a tournament every weekend, in my personal opinion.
How mindful do you have to be of that as a coach if you find out one of your guys is team hopping, trying to find a way to keep him healthy?
Well, on TREX, this is the way I do it. Is we just practice twice a week and we play one tournament a month. So therefore, our kids' arms stay healthy and they're not overused or overworked. And that's kind of the philosophy I have. It's just I don't think that you need to necessarily play every weekend. I think practice is equally as important. That way we can teach the little intangibles and make kids better, not only better players, but better young men as well.
It's great advice. It's really, really good to hear, too. Rex, we appreciate your time tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. Have fun the rest of the Memorial Day weekend out there.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Rex Gonzalez, you can follow their squad at TREXBaseball.com. He's got some top 100 national recruits in the next two classes that are part of that team. So some really good play. I don't know if you know this, but Arizona has a history of pretty good high school players.
Yeah, there are a few that have come through there. I had Jacob 1 year older. He is right. He's a 2017 grad heading into his junior year at Chaparral. So just a sophomore playing in a U18 tournament with a bunch of college commits. But he mentioned Boyd Vanderkoy, who's a 17 grad as well, who goes to Skyline High School. And we mentioned Mitchell Allen, who's at Boulder Creek, who will be heading into his senior year this year. I love that piece of advice because I'm a a soccer parent, but it's really no different whether you're talking about, young men or young women, and their club sport's very important to them. But that concept of listening and trusting your coach, if you have your kid there and they're developing and it's the right fit, sometimes they might go a few weeks where they don't play the playing time that you think is okay. You can't just up and leave. You can't hop club to club.